Hey everybody, this is Strategywizard again, and this is going to be a review of Cosmic Storm, the 4th expansion to Cosmic Encounter. I'm just going to go ahead and go right into showing you what basically comes in here. Of course, you get 25 new aliens. You have this new addition, space stations, which you can put on your planets, and I have a standard reference Cosmic Encounter planet for your viewing pleasure here. You'll notice that you can wrap these space stations around a planet, and basically what these do, goodbye reference planet, these space stations give you some kind of ability. There's really a few ways you can play, but the main way to play is you deal one of these out to each player, and they get that space station, and they'll put that space station on one of their planets of their choice, and they'll get that special ability. So now I'm just going to be honest, I have actually never played with this portion of this expansion, partly because nobody who I've played with has ever been interested in adding it. I do think overall, as far as all the additions that have been made to Cosmic Encounter, this is probably the weakest. I mean, it's somewhat interesting because you can get some interesting powers like this one. This space station says, after alliances are formed during an encounter in which you are not involved, you may either retrieve one ship from the warp or draw one card from the deck. So that's cool. I mean, it gives you something to do while you're not participating. The Alien Outpost. When you receive this card, draw one card from the flare deck. Place the matching alien sheet next to this card, then remove that flare from the game. If the alien has game setup text, it is not allowed in this game or has an alternate. While you have a colony on this planet, you have this alien power in addition to any other aliens you control. That's pretty cool. That way you actually have an extra power. And the thing is, it's not just whoever owns, whoever's color the planet is, it's whoever has colonies on the space station. So that's kind of neat. It makes it to where, if somebody makes it onto the planet, but maybe multiple people do, they can all use this new alien's power or any of these other abilities that these space stations have. This says, as an ally in a losing encounter, instead of sending your ships to the warp, you may place any or all of those ships on this planet instead. That's pretty cool. So, it's interesting. It does add an element that, some people will really enjoy, to be able to have certain one planet in each system that's special, and then you're allowed to even trade these in a negotiation deal. So you could say, hey, you give me 3 cards and I'll give you this space station, and whenever you give it to them, they can put it on whatever planet they want. So it adds some extra interest for negotiating, for what planet you attack, so that you can try to get on a space station. But my main problem with this is, one, there's not that many of them. There's 10 total. I don't have all the pieces here, but there's only 10, and one of them in particular seems relatively weak, and it's just, I don't know, it's just, compared to all the other cool stuff, it just seems a little lackluster, but I will try to get to it one day to actually include it in a game. It's just hard to get people interested in it. It just seems like it's not that great. And maybe it's unfair for me to be reviewing this having not used that, but at least you know that it's there, and that's that. Now, the more important part is the aliens. Now, I'm going to show you a little mix of these, and in my opinion, overall, these are also pretty lackluster in the scheme of things, but I'll show you some that I like. The Converter. You have the power to exchange. Whenever you would lose ships to the warp, you may use this power to discard up to an equal number of cards from your hand. Each card discarded saves one of your ships and prevents it from being sent to the warp. So that's cool. And then whenever you would retrieve one or more ships from the warp, you may use this power to instead draw cards from the deck. So this becomes kind of a hand management kind of alien, which is neat. It's interesting. And then the Neighbor, you have the power of community, giving them this lovely, gosh, everyone's favorite, alien fruit jelly cake. You have the, as a main player or ally, after the main player on your side reveals an attack card, could be yourself of course, you use this power to add 1 to your total for each ship you have in the targeted system that is not involved in the encounter. So all of your other ships that are over there on the planets of the system that you're attacking or helping to attack, you get bonus to your attack. That's kind of nice. In other words, the more people you have there, the better you'll do. Tide. This guy's pretty unique. Game setup, place 2 cosmic tokens on this sheet. It says you have the power to ebb and flow. After you win an encounter as a main player, you use this power to place 1 token on this sheet. Then, you and each of your allies draw 1 card from the deck for each token on this sheet. After you lose an encounter, If there is more than one token on the sheet, use this power to discard one token from this sheet. Then the opposing main player and each of his or her allies must discard one card of their choice from their hands for each token on the sheet. So this is another one that has something to kind of like hand management of a sort, but it has to do if you win or lose, and it can be very interesting, especially if you end up having a lot of cosmic tokens here. You can, and you lose, you can make your opponent lose their entire hand, which is exciting. The sneak is probably one of the best for sure in this particular expansion. You have the power to infiltrate. As the defense, after you lose, you may use this power to immediately place your ships from the losing encounter on any one planet in the offense's home system instead of sending them to the warp. You do not lose this power because of having too few home colonies. That is huge. So you lose, you win. If you win, you win. If you lose, you win. In fact, as the defense, sometimes you might actually want to lose just so you can get a new foreign colony. That is awesome. But I'm going to show you some of these duds that oh man, I don't know how these got past playtesting. They're just not that great. Game setup, take the Sloth Token and place it on the sheet. You have the power of laziness, and let me tell you, this alien, whoever came up with this, they were pretty lazy when they came up with it. As the offense or an ally, when you should send your ships into the encounter, use this power to send the Sloth Token in their place. The Sloth Token is not a ship. After encounter cards are selected, but before they are revealed, replace the Sloth Token with 0 to 4 of your ships from any of your colonies. Then return the Sloth Token to the sheet. If you replace the Sloth Token with 0 ships, you must still continue your encounter if you're the offense. If you replace the Sloth Token with 0 ships as an ally, you are no longer an ally. I mean, to make it to where the only thing you do is you get to decide later if you want to send a 0 to 4 ships, that just, oh my gosh. If you're the offense, it makes it to where your people are less likely to ally with you because you're not even, and it's mandatory. You can't even choose. You have to put the Sloth Token first. So you have no choice but to do that. People don't know how many ships you're wanting to commit, so they don't even have an idea of if you're trying to negotiate or try to win the battle. It's just, it actually demotivates people from wanting to ally with you. Now, that's not just absolutely horrible. I mean, there's some use, I guess, especially as an ally, if you decide, you know what, we're probably going to lose, and you go ahead and want to jump out. But, man, that overall, that is just weak. The Brute, on the other hand, is too powerful. You have the power to threaten. As a main player or ally, after alliances are formed, you may use this power to threaten one player on the opposing side. That player must either allow you to look at his or her hand of cards and take one card of your choice, or remove all of his or her ships from the encounter. Removed ships return to any of that player's colonies. If all of a main player's ships are removed, he or she continues the encounter with 0 ships. If all of an ally's ships are removed, he or she is no longer an ally. But the thing is, whenever you make it to where you're either going to have no ships to help you, or you have to basically give up your best card, that just seems a little ruthless, to be honest. Because here's the thing. Since your ships are, you have to still continue the encounter, which means if you were the offense going up against the Brute, then suddenly you either have to give him your best card, basically, and he gets to know everything else in your hand, but then they also lose, or if otherwise they have to lose all their ships, which means even if they win, they won't get a colony. That is so overpowered. It just makes for being the offense against him is just not even fun. I mean, I don't know. To me, he's way overpowered. I don't even see how that's reasonable. The Grumpus, oh my gosh, not only is he just ugly as garbage, but whenever he has a power to grump, that just sounds depressing. Probably the person who came up with this was depressed too and didn't know what to do. Whenever one of your colonies is removed from any planet, use this power. At the end of the current phase, every other player who has a colony on that planet must send one of his or her ships from that planet to the warp. You do not lose your power because of having too few home colonies. Again, it's not very powerful because anyone who is going to try to be wherever you are, knowing that your power is this, they're going to try to keep 2 ships on that planet so that if you do for some reason lose your ships and lose that colony, they won't lose their colony. But I mean, it's just weak. The Bulwark, basically, this is the zombie from the original, where the zombie from the base game, you couldn't lose your ships to the warp. You're invincible. Here, you lose all but one, and that's just boring. As the defense, whenever you would lose ships to the warp that are involved in an encounter, use the power to send only one of the involved ships to the warp. Oh, I'm sorry, you only lose one. The other ships involved in the encounter remain on the colony. Again, it's just kind of boring. I mean, it's so much like the zombie. I don't know. It's not interesting whenever you already have the zombie. It's just the zombie, plus you get to keep one. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't like it. And this guy is just, this is the ugliest of the ugly. That is part of why I don't like this one. But basically, whenever people discard cards, you get to put them on this card. And at the end of a resolution phase, if there are 5 or more cards on this sheet, you use this power to belch one of those cards back up, placing it in your hand. The rest of the cards on this sheet are removed from the game. So, I mean, it takes a while maybe to get 5 cards, because it's only, use this power to gobble up the cards. It says, as a main player, after alliances are formed, after alliances are formed, whenever a card would be placed in the discard pile by the opposing main player or one of that player's allies, use this power to gobble up the card instead. So it's only, you know, getting close, certain cards you'll be able to do that, use that way, not flare cards that get played early on or stuff like that. So it's only some cards you'll get to gobble up, and they may or may not be that great, and you have to wait for 5, which means that by the time you actually get to start using your power, you might not really have that much interesting to get to make it worth it. So it's just one of those powers. It could be good, but man, you're taking a chance that there's nothing. If they just play a bunch of negotiates against you and that's all you get to pick up, that's just not that great. So I don't know. There's just too many cards like this in this expansion that are just mediocre at best. But there are a few good ones. There are some that are interesting, and in the case of the sneak, really powerful. So I'm not going to say it's just all gloom and doom, even though I probably sound like it. But, you know, again, what you get in this, you get the space stations, you get some alien sheets, you get the flare cards for the aliens, and that's pretty much it. So, I don't know. And, of course, you get some tokens for some of the aliens who need tokens. But I guess I'm just going to say this is my least favorite expansion by far. And I will only give it a 6 out of 10. It's unfortunate. You know, Cosmic Encounter is my favorite game. I like having a lot of cosmic stuff. And I'm glad I have the expansion because I do like some of the cooler aliens. But I wouldn't recommend it to the average person, even if they like Cosmic Encounter, because to pay for a full expansion and to only get a few good things as opposed to a lot of things that are not that great, I just can't recommend that. So that is what it is. I hate to say it, but Cosmic Storm is just not recommended by me. So anyway, I hope this video was informative and helpful to you. And in the meantime, put down in the comments any questions or issues you might have, or if you disagree with me, enlighten me on why I'm wrong. I'd always appreciate that, because I would love to be wrong about this in particular. But this is how I feel, so I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, everybody. I'll see you then. Bye.